Your defense didn't maybe have a lot of the guys we might see in the fall, but what did you think? They seemed like they played pretty well.
They did. There's some inspired play. They got off the field a few times with turnovers, one being a mesh with the tailback, but that's part of spring drills. I mean, it's you put the ball on the ground on offense, it's going to be a defensive win. We got guys playing, I wouldn't say out of position, but some guys playing, especially up front, but still make plays. I mean, Bishop and Elijah, I mean, there's some guys that are on level one for the first time in their career based on the necessity. So I thought we played inspired football on defense. Probably we're on the field too much with 8, 10, 12, 14 play drives, but that's going to happen. You know, when you have touch sacks and those types of things, it's not real football. But at the end of the day, we got what we needed in the ballpark of, 70, 75 plays, and broke up the special teams in between the series because that is, when you're playing with a certain amount of bodies, you got to be able to take some time off and be able to kind of rejuvenate and let them get back on the field and take OD. So I think all in all, it was good. Weather held. Both sides made plays, which is the sign of good things.
Yeah. Your quarterbacks, it was fun to watch some of these guys play. What did you think of Kitko's work today first?
Steady, like he's been all spring. He's going to take calculated risks. He is. He's always trying to extend plays. I think all three of those guys are fun to watch. I mean, like you said, it's different. The pocket could be considered anywhere on the field. Those guys extend plays. They make at least the first, if not the second guy miss, which is an offensive lineman's dream and a defensive back's nightmare. At the end of the day, when you can extend plays, those guys will pack the football and they can move it pretty efficiently when they do, if they do so choose to tuck it and run. So it's been fun. That position, probably more than most, has been fun to watch the consistency, even with two guys getting on campus in January. It's they have worked really hard off the field to put as good a product on the field as they can, and it's shown in 10 practices. So it's fun. It's you never know what's going to happen, but that could be it's a dream for one side of the ball and a nightmare for the other. So we're in a good spot there.
I have not seen a quarterback taking returning kicks much. Have you ever done that before, like what Mike was doing today?
It's we're toying with some things. We got to put our best 11 out there. He's got some wiggle. He's got some things. So this is kind of a trial run for some of those guys in spring. When we get to August, it's we got to strap it up tighter and see kind of where our 2 and 3 deep are because we're not set yet. We're getting to that point out of spring. We'll get some guys back, obviously, on both sides, but special teams wise, we got to be way more dynamic in the return games. When we blocked, we weren't dynamic enough as a returner, and when we didn't block, we weren't dynamic enough as a returner, and that's not a good situation to be in. So trying to be more dynamic in the run or the kick return and the punt return units is something we need to do to change field position throughout the course of a game. So he's a possibility, and there'll be more competition as the fall unfolds. But if he's going to make us better on a unit, whoever he is, in this case Mike, we're going to look to see if that happens. But it was interesting to see first couple snaps where it goes, and we'll get him reps in the fall.
A lot of guys obviously not participating today for any number of reasons. What do you look for out of those guys who are not maybe 100% right now through practices and through scrimmages like this?
Well, the nice thing about how we go about practice is some of our review and our jog sessions during practice, maybe not so much scrimmage days. A lot of those guys that are coming off shoulders that are able to move from the hips down are able to take a ton of reps in practice, even though it's not a thud or a live type tempo. So Coach Chapin and Coach Kopp have done a good job allowing those guys still to stay in the football mindset of things so they're not out from the start of practice to the end of practice. So we've incorporated probably 30 to 40 snaps a day for those guys that are mobile enough to be out there and jog through sessions. So I think it's been really good. It gets those guys preparing a little bit more, knowing that they're not going to be in some of those situational moments. But we always have guys every year that are coming off surgeries that we know in January are not going to be available in spring. But the most we can get out of those guys unavailable for those tackle drills, the better we are when we get to August.
You said the defense is playing inspired ball today. I mean, even with a few holes and whatnot, I mean, they really only held the offense to one touchdown. What was it today?
I think it was a combination of things. I think they kind of bent at times, but didn't break in others. And that's where it is. I mean, 20-20 is great. You can move the football and have all the stats you want, but when you get into that red zone area, the field condenses and advantage any defense. And so they got off the field, if I remember right, in one red zone situation with a pick. Then there was a fumble, and we were fringe zone or red zone with the mesh with the quarterback and running back. So there were some timely and opportunistic plays made by the defense. Got a little pressure on the quarterback. Quarterback probably scooted a little bit too much for my liking if I'm watching a quarterback against us. But again, those three guys can do it. It's not we're different back there now. So they're going to be headaches for a lot of teams that we face in the future when they get a chance and opportunity to keep their eyes downfield and maybe make a play with their legs. So, but outside of that, I thought we played some pretty good football. And, missing some key parts that we knew we were going to miss going into it. But all in all, I think it was a little bit back and forth. But I think from a point standpoint, certainly the jerseys in red probably won the day as far as that goes.
Well, what's just a very different looking team, but it looks like a team that has a lot of veteran experience that can help it out and whatnot. What's been the biggest surprise or the biggest thing that you've seen so far?
I just think, the older you get, the less energetic you get usually. I speak from experience. And I think those guys have done a good job. That the older they've gotten, they know what's at stake. And I think they've continue to push the competitive energy they have. Some of those young guys help out the older guys in energy, but we're driven by those older guys. I mean, we're going to be old again next year, going into or the following year, going into 24. We don't have a ton of guys that run out of eligibility this fall. So if we can sustain that for the next 730 days, we got a chance to continue with the energy we have to bring a ton of guys back, assuming everybody stays healthy. So. It is. It's just fun. I mean, practice is fun. Meetings are fun. Doing all the stuff in spring is supposed to be fun. It's not as serious, but it does truly matter as we look forward to seeing and setting two deeps and talking about who's coming back and not coming back and who's going to fit in the certain positions in certain areas. So it's been fun. It's led by those older guys, and they've done a great job. They've taken great strides in the offseason to truly get to where they wanted to get before, but now they're actively participating in it now that it's their turn to be seniors and redshirt seniors.
Do you figure to have more guys participating on Friday than today, or?
Probably about the same. We've stayed fairly healthy with the guys we started spring ball with. We've lost a couple guys kind of, they're kind of day to day, but for the most part, there's been about 8 or 10 guys we knew weren't going to factor in spring at all. We've probably only had 4 to 6 that are kind of, maybe missed 1 or missed 2 and came back in a third practice or 2 from the time they went down. It looked like we came out unscathed, even though we had a couple guys go down with little dings. But both those guys, I think Amani and Mason, came back into the game. So that's the number one priority, is keeping those guys upright for them to practice and get better. So do we anticipate a rush of guys coming back Friday for the spring game? No. Could we gain 3 or 4 more guys back in some limited capacity? That's probably a high probability. But as you know, any Saturday we find out on Sunday kind of what the prognosis is.
Aaron, they asked both your guys if their outlook or thought process changed because it starts the final week of spring.
Mm-hmm.
Both said no. For you, what are you looking for in these last practices in this spring? Are you looking to clean things up? Are you looking to still advance? What are you trying to see out of your team?
Yeah, I for this particular year and the 10 practices we've got behind us, the same consistency. I think the energy, we practiced really, really well all last fall, from August until November. We truly did. As a team, it was the best year of practice I've ever been around in 20 plus years of coaching. From start to finish, from Tuesday to Friday. Saturdays weren't all that great, as we know. We didn't score enough points, didn't hold people or didn't allow ourselves a chance in some of the games, giving up too much points. But practice-wise, I think we've put together a great resume in terms of energy, in terms of commitment. It's not perfect by any stretch, but those guys had fun all last year, and not in a bad way, in a good way, in a progressive way. When you're 2-7 or 3-7, you would have thought, okay, well, how do you go into the last week? It's just we've got to take every week as its own week, whether it's a first week or last week. Naturally, your anxiousness, peaks when all of a sudden you're going into a spring or going into a fall camp. Is trying to finish what we started. We've got 10. We got a ton of new faces, so I don't think any of those new faces are going to allow these guys to say, "Hey, we've done this for 10. Well, why are we not doing it for 12 or 14?" It'll be interesting to see that game on Friday night too, because we've never done it at night. Hopefully, it gets a little dark early so we can play a little bit under the lights. Trying to finish on Friday, give them the weekend, put it in the books, and then get ready for really our summer workouts that start in our spring quarter as we head into August. But just staying eyes forward, one step in front of the other, knowing perfection is not something we're chasing or going to get, but bettering ourselves day in and day out. And up to this point, those guys have done a fantastic job. It's been fun. I'm trying to stay as young as I can, so the more energy, the better.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
Appreciate your insight.
Appreciate it.